Well, me and Joseph were always really tight. I was a big believer in Joseph. He was honest. He worked hard. I always had faith in him and my brother, and he was one of the biggest supports in my life. And I supported him right back when the church said it started, and he had the first vision. I believed him right away, and I helped him protect the plates and facilitated every way I could to help him translate those plates. My own personal family. I got married and had 6 kids, and then sadly I lost my wife after some time while I was away, helping the church establish in Missouri. But when I came back, thanks to some counsel from my brother, I decided to marry again and had 2 more kids to add to my family. I didn't have much to offer except my hands, and so I would just help in every way I could with the temple. Never wanted to stop, so I just did every part of the job that I could and tried to be as useful as I could. I sent out there and I didn't really know what I was going to be needed to do, but I just tried to follow the Spirit and the Lord as He guided me and instructed me to help build up the church. The persecution in Missouri got pretty strong out there. The persecution were from the mobs. The time I spent in Liberty with my brother, only saw my wife and my newborn baby one time in those 4 months that we were together in that prison. The last days of my life were spent just being humble, following the Spirit. I had faith in the Lord. I prayed to Him. I knew that He would protect me and my brother. And whether that protection came on this earth or in the next, I knew that I wanted it. The last days were spent right where I wanted to be, next to my brother Joseph in Carthage. And that's where we had our last moments together on this earth and passed into the next life. Truly an honor, and I felt privileged to be a part of this church and the restoration. And what really came through for me was just humility, and as I sought for the Spirit and sought to be humble, I was able to stay faithful and know the truthfulness of Joseph and his words and the Lord and His restored church.
Okay, well, that's quite the story, actually. I was just sitting there minding my own business in my own city, and then 2 missionaries came and found me and gave me the Book of Mormon. After reading the first couple pages, I knew I had to read the whole thing, so I just couldn't put it down. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. Everything was unimportant compared to how important the Book of Mormon was to me. And so I read it in a few days, and I knew I had to find the prophet Joseph Smith. And so I trekked to Palmyra. I went and tried to find him, and I found his brother Hiram. And he taught me the rest of the gospel, and Oliver Cowdery baptized me. And as soon as I became a member, I knew that missionary work was my calling in life. I knew that I had to spread this good news that had been shared with me with other people. And so I went on a mission, and I found, I don't know if you know Signe Rigdon, he's another of the church leaders that is with us today, but I found him and I converted him. And I even went on a mission in Canada and found John Taylor and a group of Bible scholars there, and helped convert all of them. And a lot of them are leaders in the church now too. And I just found that missionary work has really been fulfilling in my life, and I've really enjoyed doing that. I've learned a lot from them. There was a time when a lot of us church leaders were put in jail. I think we were in there for about 8 months, and it was really hard, really rough conditions. We eventually escaped though, and then I was put in prison another time, and I escaped again. There have been times when I've been on a mission and I haven't had food or water, but somehow I've survived it. Yeah, well, I don't know if you've ever read like in 2nd Nephi, like chapter 4, like a lot of the prophets have like psalms or like really emotional verses that they write, and I could totally see where they're coming from, because the gospel just makes me feel things so deeply that I wanted to write about them. And so I wrote some hymns for the church. I wrote some pamphlets even that people could read and be more educated about the gospel and about church history and things like that. And I really enjoyed contributing to the literature of the church. I was always really committed to the prophet Joseph Smith because we were such good friends, and he taught me so much in the time that he was alive that when he died, I knew that I had to follow his last counsel and follow the new leader of the church, Brigham Young. I just went on more missions and started doing more missionary work.
I met Joseph when he was staying at my house. He was a treasure hunter at the time. Kind of like love at first sight. My dad did not like the idea of me marrying him. He was a treasure hunter. That wasn't a good job at the time because it wasn't reliable, but that didn't matter to me. I loved him, and so we ended up eloping. And we ended up living with Joseph's family. We ended up having 9 kids, and we adopted 2 of them. 4 of them sadly died at a really young age, and it was really hard on us. I never being able to see the plates, but I was able to be a scribe for Joseph as he was translating the Book of Mormon, and I also was president of the Relief Society when he organized it. I was the first woman to be able to get the temple endowment. When the revelation came that there was supposed to be plural marriage, that was really hard for me because I wasn't the only woman that Joseph Smith was married to, and that really caused contention and hardship between us. But knowing that I came from the Lord, I trusted him, and the revelation that came when Hiram told me about it, I ended up burning the revelation. Not the best idea, but I wasn't the happiest at that time. It was really hard when he died, and it was a really hard time on me and my family, and I ended up getting remarried, and I ended up leaving the church, but I did start the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and my son helped me with that. I know for a fact that my husband was the true prophet. He was the true prophet of the Restoration, and the Book of Mormon is a true book. I know I felt the golden plates. I never saw them, but I did feel them, and I know that they truly did come from God, and that Joseph Smith was a prophet that translated them, and I'm grateful for him and what he did.
I was a wealthy man, had a happy wife, happily married man, and heard about Joseph Smith. I heard that he claimed to be this prophet who was receiving revelation. Well, not long after I had heard about him, I also felt like I had received revelation that I need to see this Joseph Smith character and assist him in the Lord's work. Being a scribe for the plates was awesome. At times it was frustrating because I couldn't see the plates. I really wanted to see the plates, and I wanted to show them to my family. I was really frustrated in the translation process because I was coming home to my wife. I begged Joseph, I begged him to see if I could just bring home a little bit of our work for her, and he prayed and he said no. And I begged him again, and I begged him again. He prayed again, he said no. And it must have been the 3rd or 4th time that I asked him. He prayed and said, you know what, fine. Just take it and bring it right back. I lost it. I lost the pages. And no one could find them. No one knew where they were. I searched everywhere, and I felt like the worst person ever. If after the Lord forgave me, but I lost my privileges, I know that maybe He trusted me less after I lost the book. And but I am grateful that the Lord still allowed me to be one of the 3 witnesses to the plates. I know I've seen the plates, and that they're real. Things were a little more complicated as time went on. In the 1830s, we faced lots of persecution, and there were lots of arguments and fallouts between me, Joseph Smith, and several others in the church. Several people were offended, and it felt like maybe I had forgotten that the church was real, and that Joseph Smith had seen God, and that I had seen what I had seen. And so I left the church. I left the church in 1837, and I felt like a lost soul. But I came to my senses, and the key thing that I did was remember all of my special moments, and I was rebaptized just a few years later. I can say that I've dedicated my life to the church. I believe that the church is true.
Yeah, so I heard some rumors about Joseph Smith and these gold plates, and I really wanted to meet Joseph, and I also had this vision of actually about the golden plates, and I had this feeling that I really needed to get to know Joseph and this new religion, and so I went to Pennsylvania, where I met Joseph and began helping with the translation process of the gold plates. Yeah, so after helping Joseph translate the plates, my official role was assistant to the president of the church. I was one of the 3 witnesses who was able to see the plates and to handle them, and I was ordained as well by Peter, James, and John, and had the priesthood. So really what it came down to was the Kirtland Safety Society Bank, the church's bank. I kind of took a big hit to my finances. I had a lot of money in the bank, and that really just caused me to, I guess, have a lot of doubts, turn away from the church and its teachings. Because of this incident, I really just, I guess I reacted poorly. I lashed out at the church and started spreading rumors about Joseph Smith and him committing adultery. And that one thing kind of led to the next, and I was excommunicated for that. Yeah, so I practiced law for a few years. I never really had any problems with the apostles of the church. Mainly it was with the members. I felt like they were threatening and very aggressive in nature, and so that was kind of my whole relationship with the church, so I ended up practicing law for several years after the incident. Yeah, so as my health began to fail, I spoke at a conference, basically just reconsidering everything and I guess re-giving my support for the apostles of the church. And in that conference they voted to readmit me into the church, where I was then rebaptized, reconfirmed, reordained, and granted full fellowship back into the church before I passed away.
I used to be a Christian minister for another faith. I worked for that church, and so I spent all of my days, studying the Bible and kind of interpreting the Word of God, and that was my whole life until a couple of Mormon missionaries showed up to our town. It was Oliver Cowdery and Parley P. Pratt. They showed up and they started to preach to us about a new dispensation, about a gospel that had been restored to a new prophet. It was called Joseph Smith. I decided to listen to them and hear what they had to say. I read the Book of Mormon, I prayed about it, and I felt that that was the true church. And so I left my whole life behind and decided to follow the LDS faith. Upon joining the church, I think everybody around me kind of noticed that I had a lot of knowledge as far as the Bible as well as other gospel topics. And so I was quickly put to work by Joseph Smith and others in teaching, in public speaking. Joseph had me give a lot of sermons and discourses. I soon was called to serve in the first presidency with Joseph Smith, where I acted as a scribe for him at times. I would speak on his behalf. And one of the biggest contributions I had to the church was being a co-witness with Joseph Smith of what we now have as Doctrine and Covenants 76, which is known as the Vision, where the heavens were opened up to us and we saw the three kingdoms of glory. Obviously, the loss of Joseph Smith was a huge toll for me as well as for the saints. I saw Joseph as a leader that could not be replaced. He hadn't really talked with us about what we should be doing once he left, and so I figured Joseph couldn't be replaced. Now with him gone, we had to figure out a new way to move forward. As a member of the First Presidency, I felt that it was my responsibility to lead the church. That was something that had been asked of me as being a part of this First Presidency. So I met with the Quorum of the 12 Apostles and we discussed it, and we didn't really see eye to eye in that sense. I felt that I should be the leader of the church, and I took those who wanted to follow me, and we started what we felt was the correct church, the true church, as Joseph would have us restore it. And so that's what I did. Brigham Young and others didn't really see it that way, and they led their church out west. After my excommunication, it's hard because I have so much love for those that stayed in the church, for the members that decided to follow Brigham Young as well as other church leaders and to head out west. However, I felt that I was doing what was right in the eyes of God, in taking over, in trying to fill not necessarily the role of Joseph Smith, but in leading the church. I did what I felt God would have me do in organizing the community of Christ, the Church of Christ. And so that's what I did, as I started to lead my own congregation, where we read the Book of Mormon, we practiced these same ordinances and principles taught by Joseph Smith.